Okay, we're down to the last mortise in the legs, and it's the biggest one, and it's also at an angle, 16 degrees, same as top of the leg, shoulder on these long tenons. Okay, if you'll remember when we laid these out initially, I said we would probably have to adjust this bottom line because this tenon comes through at an angle, and it's 3.5 inches wide, but these openings are actually slightly wider than that because of the angle. So to lay out, go ahead and scribe your upper line and scribe it around, just like what we've been doing, and set your tenon that we just cut and line it up with that upper line. Okay, on the bottom, come in and scribe the lower. So that's an exact fit to our tenon. Okay, this joint, we need to leave some tolerance, some room for it to move, because this joint disassembles, and with humidity changes, it technically could lock together. This bench, when I first built it, was built in the wintertime, and I had left a little bit of tolerance. They would slide in and out, but between the wintertime when I built it and summertime here in North Carolina, humidity gets pretty high. Later in the summer, I went to take it apart, and it would not come apart. I had to beat the stretchers out of the mortise with a mallet. So to prevent that, we're going to leave a little bit of tolerance. So here, height-wise, we're going to come just a little bit below this line we made, about 1/16 or so. And if you'll look, that's lining up with the 1 5/8 inch mark we made earlier. So that mark was right, but we've confirmed it's right. So now we can go ahead and scribe that across. Let's see, turn it this way. And we're going to go all the way around. We're going to connect our lines. Okay, so here's what we have now. We're laid out front, back, and then the sides for our angled mortise. Last thing we want to do, using the gauge we used to lay out the long tenon a little bit ago, we're going to use exactly the same setting. We don't want to move the teeth or the fence. They need to stay the same. And from the face side, outside of the leg, we're going to scribe this mortise. And if you'll notice, this mortise is not coming through the center of the leg, it's towards the outside. And the reason for that is this leg is 3 1/8 thick. This stretcher is about 2 3/4, and we want the face of the stretcher to be flush with the leg on the outside. So this is actually offset. So be sure when you gauge your mortise lines that you have your fence on the face side of the leg, because if you cut it over here, your stretchers aren't going to be flush, and it's going to not look very good. So, and then same thing on the back side. Be sure your fence is on the face side. And that's it. We're ready to chop. Okay, we're ready to cut the mortise for the long tenon that we just cut out. And a good thing to have or to save when you cut, this is a waste piece off the side of this long tenon that we sawed. If you'll notice, it's got an angle on the end which is 16 degrees, same as the angle that our mortise is going through the leg, and it makes a nice little guide for your auger bit. So like the center stretcher, we're going to auger most of the waste out and then chop, use a chisel and chop out and clean out the rest. Before we start, we're going to stake in the ends of the mortise to prevent any breakout by the auger. When you're drilling at an angle like this, the cutters, the actual teeth, or well, just cutters, I guess is what you call them, on the auger can contact before the little nickers on the side and can tear a little piece out. So see, that's all we've done, is just took our chisel and chopped that to prevent any breakout. So we'll put our scrap up here and just center as close as you can your auger in the center of the mortise, and this is a 1-inch auger, by the way, and we're going to start down. You can use your scrap as a guide. Keep your angle of your bit same as the angle of the end of that, our little cutoff there, and just like the other mortise, about halfway through the leg. Okay, we've got the mortise cleaned up. You can see where we've cut through at an angle and they've met in the middle from our layout lines on either side of the leg. And we're almost ready. To test this joint. Okay, we've got our mortise chopped out and pared out, and we'll try this on the stretcher. And that's excellent. The face is flush here. We've got our tolerance, our little bit of movement to allow for expansion and contraction. And this may look like too much, but it's what you want. This is the way you want it. When we drive this, we're going to cut the mortise for the key here shortly. When we drive it in, it actually pushes this leg against these two shoulders on the long stretcher. And that's what this seats against, is this shoulder, and the pressure from the wedge holds it. So that allows us to have that tolerance for our expansion and contraction, and we still have a solid strong joint when everything's assembled. So now we need to make the key so we can cut our mortise for it and finish this joint up.
This is Joshua Farnsworth. If you're interested in learning traditional woodworking with hand tools, visit my website at woodandshop.com, where you can find free video tutorials, workshop tours of amazing traditional woodworkers, and tool buying guides. You can ask questions and share your projects with thousands of woodworkers on my free traditional woodworking forum. Make sure you subscribe to my regular blog posts, and also check out my 10 steps for getting started in traditional woodworking. Enjoy!